Okay, welcome back. In this video we're going to show you guys how to do those box and whisker graphs, which is going to basically display this same data in a different format, in a format that perhaps gives us a lot more oversight into what data is contained within our sample. So to do the box and whisker, I'm just going to create a new sheet. I'm going to rename it SHOD box and whisker. I'm just going to change this to a white background. We're going to take the same data and we're going to copy and paste it in here. Then we just have to create the mean data, the standard deviation data. We're going to create our 5-number summary. So we need a min, a Q1, median, a Q3, and max. We're also going to create, because it's a box and whisker, we have to tell the computer what the size of each of those boxes are. So we have a box 1, a box 2, and a box 3, and then we have to tell it how long the top whisker is and how long the bottom whisker is. Alright, so that should pretty much be it. Okay, mean is equal to the average, and that's just going to be the mean of that. Standard deviation, STDEV, just have to put equals in there, dot S. Alright, and something went wrong there. Sorry, my computer does that from time to time. Dot S, tab, and highlight. Good. Alright. Min is just pretty straightforward. Equals min. Highlight all of that. Q1, we type in equals quartile. We select the inclusive option. Highlight all of that, and then tell it it's the first quartile that I want the cutoff point for over here. Median is just equal to median. Q3 is equal to quartile dot inc. Highlight values, comma 3, and then max is just equal to maximum. Pretty straightforward. Alright. Box 1 is going to be basically from the bottom up. So if I show you guys over here, this is basically going to be a stacked column graph. So there's a box at the bottom here that we just have to tell it how big to be. Then there's a box on top of that, a box on top of that, and a box on top of that. So in essence, that's what we're trying to just establish over here. So box 1 is just going to be the height of Q1. Box 2 is going to be median minus Q1, and box 3 is going to be equal to the Q3 minus the median. So Q3 minus median. Okay, so there we have the heights of our boxes. The top whisker is going to be equal to your maximum minus Q3, and the bottom whisker is going to be equal to Q1 minus your minimum. Alright, so now we have the data that we need. I'm just going to click and drag it across. Good. What I'll do then is I'm going to highlight these boxes. I'm going to insert, I'm going to go column, and I'm going to go to stacked column. Alright, so it should look like that. If it doesn't, sometimes what it does is it gives you a different label. Just right click, say select data, and then switch row and column. That might just be something that you need to do. Okay, then I need to add the whiskers. So what I'm going to be doing next is click the top box. I'm going to say add chart element, add error bars, more error options. I'm only going to go for the top one, and then I'm going to add my custom value for these top whisker data. Alright, then I'm going to click the bottom one, let me just click here again, bottom one, yep. I'm going to go to chart elements, error bars, more error options. Now I just want the minus, and I want the custom value for my bottom whisker. Okay, so what I can do then is I can get rid of this bottom box and just make it invisible. I'm going to create a fill with no fill. So there you pretty much have it. I'm going to get rid of these horizontal bars. What I'll also do is just slightly change this color format. So the bottom one I want to make kind of like a light gray, and the top one I'll keep a darker gray, or you can swap it around, doesn't really matter. It's just to kind of differentiate it slightly. I'm going to get rid of the chart title. Again, here I want that horizontal line, so I'm going to double click over here, color options. I want a solid line that I want to make a light gray. Close that, that looks good. I'm also going to get rid of these boxes. This over here is something that I did not foresee. Let's just see if I can change that. Let me just try and see here. I'm going to edit that range to include these labels, and then click OK, click OK, and that then should have hopefully given me the labels for my anatomical landmarks. Happy with that. The only thing that I would want to do now is how do I start adding the mean and the median values to this. So what I would do is I right click, select data. I'm going to add an element to it. I'm going to right click in there, and I want all the mean values to be displayed. Actually, let me go with median first. Okay, then I'm just going to call that the median. Alright, so this is obviously not what I want. So what I'm going to click right is change series chart type. I'm going to go to this median box, and what I want here is to create basically a scatter plot with that. So it's just going to give me the dots of where that is, and you should find it it's on that line, basically subdividing each of these different quartiles. So what I can then also do, just depends, some texts make these colors equal and just represent the data like that. Like I said, I don't necessarily like that. I just want to kind of see where the quartiles are, but it's going to be up to you. So let's just actually keep it like that. And then I want to add the median in. So now I'm going to right click, select data. I'm going to add mean is what I want to add in here. And then I'm just going to highlight the mean values, press enter, and click OK. I don't like that specific color, so let me just double click that. I'm going to click the color option. I want to have the marker with a different fill, so I normally pick like a light blue because it's a little bit easier to see. And then last thing, chart elements legend. I want to create at the bottom. I'm going to delete these individual options over here, double click that, so I only have the median and the mean in there. Okay, last thing is just get rid of that outside border, outline, no outline, and we're done. So we say box and whisker plot of force profiles of shod plantar force profiles. Then I have to click on the graph, design. I just have to add the axis. So remember, anatomical landmarks, and on the y-axis the fact that it is force in newtons, right? Alrighty, cool, so we're done. In terms of interpreting what it is that you guys see, so in terms of making sense of the data, how do you start interpreting all of this? So in essence, a box and whisker plot divides your entire population into 4 equal quarters. So let's just take one. I'll just kind of redraw one over here. So if this is your box, this over here is going to be your median, and then we've got your whiskers up and down either end. Okay, so that should hopefully make sense. This top part over here is always going to be your maximum value, and this whisker down here, just that horizontal line, is going to be your minimum value. This represents basically the bottom 25%. This over here is called your interquartile range and represents 50% of your data. And then the top over here is the top 25%. Alright, in terms of force values, this obviously represents the range of data that is in the 75th percentile and above. Over here, that horizontal line, or in our case these yellow dots, represents the median. Okay, and then the size of each of these also tells you the range of data within that particular sample or variable. So we can see over here that that's quite a long whisker, whereas the bottom part is quite a short whisker. So it means that the lower end, the lower 25% of values within this particular range were all closely grouped, whereas the top 25%, there was much more variability, much more variation in the values that we saw. And again, the length of the sort of middle 50% will also tell you how much variation there tends to be. The median then is the cutoff point for this kind of third quartile, and we can see that that's relatively narrow, whereas this second quartile here is a little bit longer. So again, it tells you the grouping of data and the spread of data within that particular sample, right? We can tell here T1, it's all very, very closely grouped. Most of the values, the 50% of the values, were within a very, very tight range, and then there were some values in the top 25% that were a little bit more spread out, but all in all, much more closer grouping of data, a lot less variation and variability. So you can see in a box and whisker plot, we get ideas about minimum and maximum values and where most of the data tends to be found, which is something that we don't necessarily get from our column graphs, right? The median, as we can see here, is affected by very high and very low values. Note that we have much more variation in here, and because of the fact that the data here is so spread out, it tends to pull the mean in that direction. So that also gives you greater insight in terms of variance and so on and so forth. Okay, so I hope that that's made some sense. I tend to prefer this kind of a data layout. It gives you a lot more information and something that we can work with in future quite a bit. That's it for this particular video. See you guys on the flip side.